If humans evolved from monkeys, why are there still monkeys? It is a question that reliably surfaces in public forums, classrooms, and everyday conversations about biology. This confusion traces back to a pre-Darwinian framework called the Great Chain of Being. This 1514 woodblock engraving illustrates the concept, a literal ladder of life, assuming organisms move from primitive to complex in a single upward file. This latter framework relies on a concept called anagenesis. It is the assumption that evolution is a linear track, where an entire ancestral species must transform into and be replaced by a more advanced form. But modern evolutionary biology collapses that ladder. The primary driver of biological diversity is actually cladogenesis, the branching of a single lineage into multiple distinct species. Evolution functions as a deeply branched tree, where a small offshoot can adapt to a new environment, while the original ancestral population remains stable. Parent and descended lines routinely continue alongside each other as contemporary cousins. Natural selection does not have a predetermined finish line. There is no inherent biological drive toward human-like intelligence or upright walking. Think of it like your own family tree. You are not descended from your cousin. You share a common grandparent. Similarly, humans are not descended from the monkeys currently living in modern forests. Instead, both groups share an extinct common ancestor that lived approximately 25 million years ago. Speciation usually happens when a small subpopulation becomes isolated and adapts to new environmental pressures. Meanwhile, the parent population stays right where it is, continuing to optimize itself within a stable, familiar ecological niche. Asking why a monkey didn't turn into a human is biologically invalid. The actual questions are how strict taxonomy defines a monkey and what specific ecological pressures kept them highly competitive for tens of millions of years. Part of the taxonomic confusion comes from the word monkey itself. In modern cladistics, monkey is not a formal scientific taxon. It is a colloquial term. Specifically, it represents a paraphyletic group. This means the grouping includes a common ancestor, but artificially excludes some of its direct descendants. Formally, modern primates belong to the infraorder Simiformes, which splits into two main branches, Platyrrhini, the New World monkeys, and Catarrhini, the Old World primates. This visual shows the strict taxonomic nesting of these groups. The large outer circle represents all Simiformes. Inside that is the Catarrhini branch, and nested strictly inside Catarrhini is Hominoidea, the ape lineage. Because apes branch directly out of the Old World primate lineage, humans share a more recent common ancestor with Old World monkeys than Old World monkeys do with New World monkeys. In evolutionary biology, classifications must be monophyletic, meaning they include an ancestor and all its descendants. If you create a grouping that contains both New World and Old World monkeys, that group must mathematically include apes to remain scientifically valid. Biological evidence places humans within the simian lineage. Cladistically speaking, humans are monkeys, nested deep within the simian tree. We can track exactly when these branches separated using molecular dating. By measuring the accumulation of genetic mutations over time, such as the roughly 1.2% DNA sequence difference between humans and chimpanzees, researchers reconstruct a reliable divergence clock. The basal split for the simian lineage occurred roughly 35 to 40 million years ago. A subpopulation dispersed across the ocean to the Americas, becoming reproductively isolated and evolving into the Platyrrhini, or New World monkeys. Back in Afro-Eurasia, the next major division happened about 25 million years ago. This was the split between the ancestors of modern Old World monkeys, the Cercopithecoidae, and the ancestors of modern apes, the Hominoidae. This separation was a division of ecological strategies and canopy resources. It was not a scenario where apes arrived and suddenly replaced the monkeys. The monkeys we see today are highly specialized survivors of these ancient branching events. Labeling them as living fossils ignores tens of millions of years of distinct, ongoing adaptation. The fossil record provides the physical proof of these divergence events.
It also dismisses the popular expectation of a missing link that looks exactly like a 50-50 split between a modern monkey and a modern human. Instead, we find transitional forms. This is the skull of Pyrrholopithecus catalonicus, dating back roughly 13 million years. It offers a critical look at the last common ancestor of all great apes. It possessed a mosaic of anatomical traits. The fossils show an ape-like wide thorax and a stiff lower spine adapted for upright climbing, yet the species retained primitive, monkey-like hands. Moving closer to the present, the hominin and chimpanzee lineages split between 6 and 9 million years ago. For decades, researchers assumed this common ancestor looked just like a modern chimpanzee, but the skeletal layout of Ardipithecus ramidus challenged that model. Ardipithecus lacked the skeletal adaptations for knuckle walking. The evolutionary tree is actually a complex, reticulated web of gene flow. The idea of a sudden, instantaneous evolutionary leap from a monkey into a human is biologically impossible. To understand why a species survives, we have to look at ecological determinism. Lineages persist because they are competitively superior within their specific environments. During the Miocene epoch, roughly 20 million years ago, dense tropical forests spanned across Africa. These canopies were the primary battleground for primate resources. In this environment, the Old World monkeys developed a metabolic advantage, extreme dietary flexibility. They evolved the physiological ability to digest tannin-rich, unripe fruits that were full of chemical antioxidants. This created a scrambling strategy. Monkeys consumed the resources long before they ripened. By the time the fruit was safe for others to eat, the later arriving, antioxidant-intolerant apes found nothing but a hollow sphere of depleted food. This intense competition drove many ape lineages straight into extinction. The survivors were forced into specialized niches, developing traits like brachiation to reach food on outer branches where monkeys couldn't follow. Modern monkeys exist today because their physiological adaptations made them the apex competitors of the canopy, out-evolving the apes in the arboreal environment. While the monkeys secured the forest, the hominin lineage faced an entirely different set of pressures, driven by late Miocene environmental shifts. The African climate dried rapidly. The vast tropical forests contracted, opening up wide, mosaic landscapes of dry woodland and savanna. Survival in the savanna required crossing long distances between patchy food sources. Selective pressures favored the hominin traits of bipedal walking for energetic efficiency, and an upright posture to minimize exposure to the sun. These directional terrestrial pressures drove rapid craniofacial and locomotor evolution in humans. Meanwhile, the monkeys remained under stabilizing selection. Their canopy niche was secure and highly productive, generating no need for terrestrial adaptations. Today, these monkeys are active ecological engineers. Through their diverse diets, frugivorous primates handle up to 90% of all seed dispersal in tropical rainforests, physically planting and regenerating the ecosystems they inhabit. Monkeys are keystone species, keeping Earth's terrestrial biodiversity intact. Humans are not the advanced replacements for them. We are merely the branch of the family that adapted to the savanna, while our cousins remained to master the forest.